You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast. Was a civil war inevitable between the black and green factions? We're going to find that out today on our special episode, our HBO episode on House of the Dragon. I keep wanting to add dragons to that. That is not true. That is not how it's ever been. It's the House of the Dragon. It's an excellent show. I am joined today, of course, by Keno Kennedy. How are you doing, Keno?
I'm well, and yourself. And I'm telling you that this show helped me with my Game of Thrones withdrawals. Okay, so I was really excited. I was really excited to have another Game of Thrones edition thrown in, so I can get something to be excited about on Sundays when this show was originally aired. Oh yeah, no, I'm good, and I'm ready to talk about this show today.
Excellent, because I should have also mentioned before all this that this is Systematic Geekology, and we are the priest of the geeks. So my bad on that. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a little flustered because I have spent the past 30 minutes trying to get this set up correctly. My laptop I normally use for all of this kept restarting every single time I logged in to the program we use to do this. So I had to go to my old beater laptop, the cheap one that I just used to carry around to do schoolwork on while I'm in class, had to download Chrome, had to get everything logged in correctly. We're finally here. We're going to talk about House of the Dragon. All right, Keno, would you like to explain the premise of the show to the good people?
Okay, so this show is literally a prequel to Game of Thrones that takes place roughly 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones. It is focusing on one of the major and one of the oldest families in Game of Thrones, the Targaryens. And it looks at the reign of King Varys I and his families and descendants and how they listen. This show this show is about dragons. Okay, there's dragons in this show. There's dragons in this show, and so if you love Game of Thrones and you love when oh gosh, the mother of dragons, I can't think of her name. Daenerys. Yes, you when you saw her little 3 dragons born, oh, you saw that's so cute. But when you saw them grow and one of them become part of the Ice King's army, yeah. So imagine Game of Thrones, but then souped up like by 10 with dragons. That's what you have with this show. It's just Targaryens and dragons. Now there's some other stuff that happens in that, but you got dragons. That's why it's called House of the Dragon. This is why you should be excited.
Most definitely. This is a fun show. A little in the past, a couple hundred years before what we get in Game of Thrones proper, to show the succession story and the 2 different, factions fighting over who has the right to go to the throne because, we have legitimacy here and you've changed the laws. This person can be in charge here. It's like, how does that work out? What's going on? This is so much fun. And oh, by the way, did I introduce myself? I don't know. I'm Christian. I'm one of the co-hosts here of Systematic Geekology. Like I said, I am flustered. We're going to get through this episode. We're going to have fun. Because once again, Keno and I are on, and we can do whatever we want.
Yes, and we're talking about dragons, okay?
Yes. We're going to talk about dragons and have a fun time. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. Not going to worry about the past. No. All right. So, Keno, do you have a favorite character on the show so far?
No. I'm going to tell you why.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because
go for it.
Because and it's nothing against any of the characters. It's just in my watching Game of Thrones, you can't get attached to any character in Game of Thrones because either they'll turn or they'll die. And so I don't have a favorite character, but I would say I like Otto of Hightower. He's a guy who had a plan in motion and worked that plan to make sure that his family was still a part of the realm, even though they weren't even a part of the Highborn, if my memory serves me correctly. It's been a while since I've seen the show.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in the Hightower lore, they are like close to nobles and then became nobles fairly recently. I could be completely off
I think
base.
so. I think
Yeah.
because he became hand of the king. I don't
Yes.
remember. I don't remember. But yeah, Otto was the only one that I would. I I I know he's like a dislike character because he's conniving, but I nothing against anyone. I understand what Otto was doing. Otto was trying to make sure that his family was taken care of, and I'm not saying
Hmm.
that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I understand.
Yeah. I mean, in a world like Game of Thrones, the fact that he wouldn't do something like what he does makes him weak, comparatively speaking. Like, obviously, from our perspective, not really happy with how certain things go, what he does. But from their perspective, like, this makes total sense. Grab that power, get on the throne, do whatever it takes. So I feel you there.
Again, I didn't get attached to any characters because I was anticipating some letdown or pitfall or something like so I was like, I'm not, I'm not finna just be like, ooh, I can't wait to see what they do. No, I'm just like, I'm just watching. I'm just watching. I'm just watching. So I don't have a favorite character. But what about you, Christian? Do you have a favorite character?
I will say my favorite character hasn't appeared yet. I'm fairly certain they've been mentioned, but I think they're showing up in the second season, and that is Cregan Stark, who is the head of the Stark household at this time. But as far
Oh.
as actually characters within the show that we've seen so far, I'm going with Daemon. I'm going with
Mm.
manipulative, incestuous, terrible person, and also a lover of his family, sometimes a little too literally for its own good. Daemon.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. I like Damon. Damon's weird, but I get it
Yeah,
though.
he's a very
I
complicated man.
He is, but the Targaryens in of themselves are just complicated. Like
Yeah.
the fact is that you have the fact is that they will be willing to sleep with each other to keep the bloodline going, even though it drives them crazy. They didn't care. They wanted to make sure that um, the line kept going, and the family eventually doing it out to Daenerys and then Jon Snow, which was cool though. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool to find out. That was cool to find out. Anyway, we here talk about House of Dragons though.
Yeah. Yeah. No worries.
Like Game of
All right.
Thrones.
So, do you have a least favorites from what we've seen so far?
Who's oh my gosh, y'all gotta forgive me. So it was Princess Rhaenyra's quote unquote husband. That guy.
The one that she actually married.
Yes.
Oh, what was
Yes.
his name? He
Oh
was.
gosh.
Was it Laner?
I don't remember.
Valerian?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. The one who was actually gay, but they married anyways for ties to the family. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, him. I'm like, sir, you got your kids. You just gonna let this other man raise your kids? How you just gonna let that happen? I was like, that I don't understand that. Can't have another man raise your kids, and he can get well. They ain't look like him though. I understand.
Yeah.
Still,
Still, they're your kids.
they are. They called you dad. They called you dad.
I feel that.
Dad. Yeah. So that's my least favorite character.
Okay. I'm going to go. It was hard picking this because I don't like them for different reasons. And it's like, I know why the show does what they do. Mine was, I think my answer is going to be Kristen Cole, who was the first lover that Rhaenyra had. And when he said, oh, let's go run away together, she rejected him because obviously that's not going to work out. And then he gets all very, not quite incel-y, but very possessive of her, and then completely goes 180 on how he feels about her simply because he got rejected and all the trouble that comes from that. And I'd say my second one would probably be what is her name? Rhaenys Targaryen, the one who jumps up from the depths with her dragon in the midst of that announcement of is it Aemon becoming king, and kills all the small folk. And it's like, I'm not going to kill anyone here. And it's like, you just murdered a bunch of people right here, but you're not going to kill. I won't be a kinslayer. It's like, okay, I see where the line is.
Yeah. There was no line because these folks wielded absolute power with minimal restraint. Because not trying to be funny, but the Targaryens were the only ones who were able to unify the Seven Kingdoms because of the dragons. That's the only reason that they are in power. And
Yes.
so you're coming up against a family infighting that's also trying to maintain the hold that they have on a kingdom that is fractured, because it's only being held together by sheer fear. It ain't out of obligation. It's out of sheer fear. Because again, it's dragons. It's those dragons, and so you can't. Up until Game of Thrones, there was no way you could defeat a dragon. Up until Game of Thrones, there was no way you could defeat a dragon. So the Targaryens were the rulers, and so when oh my gosh, she was telling what's the prince's name? When she named Aemon as the new king, like here's the thing that folks got to realize when you're watching this show. This sets us up. This is the setup for the Fire and Ice. Is that am I saying it right, Christian?
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Song of Ice and Fire. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, this sets up that struggle in that book. But this the way it's written, the way it's presented, I do like this show. Again, it is. It helped me to again just feed my Game of Thrones fix when Game of Thrones went off. Like this was a good show.
Oh yes, very much so. I really enjoyed watching this week by week. Just had a ton of fun. Like you said, it got that itch scratched for me for more Game of Thrones content. Now, one of the biggest parts of the show is the conflict between, Team Black that wants Rhaenyra on the throne, and then you have Team Green, which wants Alicent and her children to succeed after, what is his name, Viserys?
Viserys.
Yeah, after Viserys dies. Like, legally speaking, he changed the laws to where his daughter, Rhaenyra, would take the throne away. But
correct.
As far as the culture is concerned, we have, a boy should be king. So, like, would you say that you're more of a member of Team Black or Team Green?
I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It is very difficult because again, when Viserys was named king, it was because all the nobles came together and said that we want this man to be king. And Princess, what was his cousin's name? I'm sorry.
Was it Rhaenys?
Rhaenys.
I can't remember. Be perfectly honest with you.
Again, I don't remember people's. Anyway, it's my point is you have this feud that was going on inside the realm anyway when the king's daughter was overlooked because of his nephew. Was his nephew, right? I'm trying to remember.
Remembering succession rights in general is bad, but like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, even worse. Like all these different houses you have, all these different illegitimate children coming into the mix kind of screws up everything.
Yeah. So this is why it's difficult because you have Varys' wife, Alicent, with Aegon and his brothers. And then you have Rhaenyra with her bastard children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you can't really. Well, I'm saying I can't really root for anybody because I'm like neither one of y'all really have a legitimate claim to the throne.
Yes.
But the fact is that if the decree was made, then the decree has to be honored. The problem that we have is that Alicent is saying that the king changed his mind. Mm-hmm. And that is what the problem is because Rhaenyra is like, well, my daddy didn't tell me that. That's not what he told me. And if your son was, this is what I'm thinking in the back of my mind. If your son was really chosen, then he would know what's coming down the pipeline.
Yes.
Like that is the other thing that I understand where Renaria has a rightful claim only because of that. That's but I'm still not saying I'm on either one or the other, but she does have a right in that way. And that's why I think she's fighting for her right to the claim to the throne because of that secret alone. Which I wonder, because I never read the book. Is how does that secret get passed on through her? You see what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I have also not read the books. I'm one of those people, I don't care about spoilers, so I start reading stuff. I have not bought the books yet. I do have all the A Song of Ice and Fire books, but not the House of the Dragon spin-off stuff. But as far as I'm aware, I think this is something they added to the show. I
okay.
think I remember reading that somewhere of him actually telling her about the prophecies and all that. So that may be a change they made there, which I kind of like if that's a change they made, because it gives more weight to her being, in my opinion, because I'm on Team Black. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm there, even though I really don't like either group, to be perfectly honest with you. But number
I can
one,
understand.
I'm with Rhaenyra because Viserys named her his heir, changed the law, showed how much love and faith he had in her to do that. That shows a lot of what's the word I'm looking for at this moment in time. Just how much, like I said, just how much he loves her to be willing to bend the rules, knowing she would be the better option. And of
Well.
course, telling her what
He
happened.
right, but he prepared her for that because he made sure that she was in the room as the king's cupbearer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was preparing her to take over, so that she can understand how politics how the politics of the realm goes with the different fractions, and so she understands, how to move things. However, Allison, being her father's child, once she
Yes.
gets in there, she's like, "Nah, this is how it's gonna go because I'm trying to protect my children." And again, I understand that. I do. But yeah, okay, I got you. Team Black. Okay, Team Black. Team Black. I got you.
Yeah. And like I said, like I don't really prefer either one of them at the end of the day. And I understand both, like protecting children. Both there are two mothers here that want nothing more than for their children to be kept taken care of and to rule. Like I get it. Everyone wants, as a parent, for your children to succeed and to end up better than you if
Yes.
you're a good parent.
Yes. Yes.
But the way they go about it, all the people have to die as a result of it. Well, that's where we get into the nitty gritty of why sometimes there's a reason we don't live in a monarchy anymore.
No. No, because it's hard to keep track of who's has a right to the throne and who has a right to claim it. Because once there is no rightful quote unquote male heir, and when there is no or direct lineage or claim, then it's normally the strongest and or the biggest that can claim the throne. Just like when Game of Thrones started with Robert Baratheon taking over. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was the quote unquote ending of the Targaryen dynasty. You know, but to have to make the claims, you have to have some showing of the lineage to the family tree, and both of these fractions have a rightful claim. Both fractions have a rightful claim to the throne. Um, I mean, I know how it plays out, but still, I like this. I like
Yeah.
this build up and this tension that they're presenting between these two, because it's going to be hard fought with with armies, with schemes, with poison, with knives and dragons.
Uh-huh.
There's going to be dragons involved in this battle, in these fights, and so yeah, just to see these fractions, this feud boiling up. Oh, this is going to be an exciting show. I'm hoping that this show at least has about 4 or 5 seasons in it. I'm hoping at least 4 or 5.
I mean, from what I've read, there easily could be about that much. I mean, just to showcase the war between these two different factions and all the other people who have to pick a side, like we saw near the end of the show, where the actually it was the Baratheons at that point in time who picked the side. At one, we were expecting them to go one way, but they went a completely opposite way.
Yeah.
All the intrigue that comes from that. I mean, it's pure Game of Thrones, and I love it. But actually, we've been kind of talking around it. But one of the major issues, like introduced in this show, is the idea of women being given the opportunity to lead in a male-dominated society. Like, well, how do we feel about how the show has handled this? And it's like, is there anything else about this that we kind of wish they'd focus more on?
No, I think that this is a good depiction of the struggle that women have in trying to rule, because the idea is that a woman's place is raising the children. But we see how even in the rearing of children, women still have a level of influence over the men who they are connected to, whether it be a mother to a son or a wife to a husband or a mother-in-law. Like,
Yes.
women still hold a lot of influence and power in this, and so I think that it is a good depiction of what the struggle, not what the struggle, but how women are viewed in society as second-class citizens, when in actuality they wield more power than men. That's the interesting thing, is that women wield more power than men. However, it is men who are the keepers of that power. Yeah, I'll say it that way. They're the men that are the keepers of that power. But the way that women are depicted in how they are shown in the leadership. You have a queen, you have several queens. It's always good. Listen, if you play chess, you know that the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. And so you have these women, and I'm talking about princesses and queens that are fighting each other to exact their dominance in what they believe is right. And so you have Alicent, Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra's aunt. I can't think of her name. Y'all forgive me, but that's her aunt. They're all fighting to see that either they're fighting to see that their children are seated on the Iron Throne, and so you are seeing literally the type of power and influence that women can have on a society that can change the trajectory of the whole show. Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Yeah. So
okay, yeah. I think this show does a really good job of showing just how difficult it would have been, especially at that point in history. Like, we even look around our own world history, for women to take command of an entire nation. You will find very few societies have had a woman rule for a very long time. I mean, you can think of Queen Victoria, you can think of Queen Elizabeth II, but that's more of, they still married husbands. But at the end of the day, because they were not part of the royal family, part of the, at least that close, they were considered king, but the queen was considered above them as far as like the British royalty thing goes. But like, you may have, what was her name? The Queen of Hawaii, Lilukani or something like that, reigned for a couple of years, was a very good ruler for a time, until unfortunately the United States came in and sugar interest came in, and we decided what's yours is ours. And now we have Hawaii as a 50th state. So pros and cons. But speaking over time, like, there are very few women in history that have reigned for a very long time. It's always against the norm. It's going to be the man who reigns. I mean, even you look in the Bible, there's very few women that we see reign outside of their husbands, like, except for, I can think of, what's her name? Atatalia, who is from the union between the house of, goodness gracious, Ahab and the house of the king of Judah, and causes a lot of problems with idol worship there. So if you look in the Bible, there's not a lot of very positive female leader role models. But what this show does, outside of like your Deborahs and stuff like that, but once again, she was a judge and not the leader of the entire nation. What I like is we get this conflict showing the moment, okay, everything we've ever done before this moment says this cannot happen. And yet the introduction is made and the people are forced to deal with it. And you see there's a lot of misogynistic content from like, hey, even if she becomes, queen / king, we're not going to like care about that. We'll say to her face, yeah, we serve you. But they're mocking her behind her back. And even Alicent, for a time, uses what she has around her to look like she and actually serve parts as a king when Viserys is getting older and he can't make all the decisions he used to make. We kind of get a Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What was his wife's name? Oh, it's killing me. She was actually making decisions. Eleanor. Yeah, she was. Yeah, actually making decisions sometimes for him because of him dealing with his polio. And a lot, you don't see that taught a lot in American schools.
No,
but I like how this series shows all that.
Yeah. You're seeing again how women have influences that's not being respected in society because they have the ability to make things work and go that some men can't even do. Think about like where women can go into literally a meeting of men. A woman can go into a meeting with a whole bunch of men and nobody say anything. She could be an assassin and kill them all. Nobody would say anything. Because men won't be even paying attention to the woman because they would treat her like she's a waitress or something that she's supposed to be here.
Yes,
but yeah, it's this show shows. I like how the women in power are seen as women have in power, but it's sad that even in this show, like you pointed out, Christian, that the men still don't respect them. The women don't even respect them. Because Rhaenyra has to work on her aunt's approval to saying, "Hey, support me in what my struggle for the throne," and because she was mad because she got looked over. I mean, but eventually she came around, which I'm glad.
Eventually.
But I've talked to a lot of women pastors, and they have the same type of issues now where they serve in certain ministries and people don't respect them because they're a woman. And they're like, and some have told me it is more so the women than it is the men that don't respect them. Which is a shame because if you have a woman that's in position of power, I think you would think that you want to be supportive, but that's not the case. Take case in point where Hillary Clinton didn't even win the majority of white women's votes. Which is interesting because she's a white woman. She was anyway. I'm gonna leave that alone. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I see where you were going.
Yeah. But the thing is, the women have their position of power, and yet they're still not respected in their seat because society deems them that they shouldn't be there in the first place when they're they're as qualified as men, sometimes more qualified.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to how this show continues to handle that at any time of strife because even though Aegon has been made king on, the green side of things, it's really obvious who has the real power right now. And it's not him, it's his mother. And you get to Rhaenyra as well. Like she has that power now, but a lot of it is riding on her marriage. Or did they ever really get married? I can't remember, with Daemon and all the ties that come from her father. If her father had not said what he said, had not made her by law queen, no one would care what she had to say.
Yeah.
So there's still a weird mix of relying on the old ways of doing things and like trying to make this new thing. So I'm very interested to see where things go. Like I know a lot of where things go, but I don't know everything.
Yeah. But you still see where, and I hate to say it, women are still not going to be respected. It is eventually going to be a man who sits on the throne. It's
eventually, yes.
It's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. That it was because of a woman that the throne was destroyed. I ain't trying to be funny, but that's what happened.
Yes.
It was because of her that the throne was destroyed. Several of them. But you're dealing with again just the perception and ideas of how women are treated, and again, this show just a depiction of how it is, how it was then, and how it is now. Even though this is a fictional world, it's still the notion was women were supposed to be in the house, raising babies, having babies, and all this other stuff. But even when Rhaenyra's mother was pregnant, she was trying to tell her this is where she fights. Like she fights the battle having babies, and
Yes.
that was man, that was rough. That was rough. That opening scene where they had to cut her open.
Ugh.
Oh man,
And it was all for nothing.
That was for nothing. But I mean, I get it. That what else are you supposed to do? The baby is breached. There's no way. There's no way that the woman can survive. The baby has to come out at some point.
Yes.
And they had no other alternative but to do that, and that was really sad. That was crucial. That was crucial. That changed the dynamics, and that's also where the grief and the love of a woman takes over the show, really, because when his wife died, everything else changed. That's literally what happened. Like after Varys' wife died, I can't think of her name, and his son died. That's where everything changed. And you saw where Rhaenyra say the word to elicit the dragon to spit the fire out Dracarys. Because her father couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And it was at that moment that I think the rest of the oh gosh, what is the King's Council? They knew he was no longer a strong king. Well, they knew he wasn't a strong king from the get-go, but they knew that he was weakened further in that state than ever before. That's why Otto sent his daughter to the king that same night. Like he knew she could then be in a position where he could influence her. To keep the king under control, which he was very successful in doing that, you know. So yeah, I don't know where I was going on that. I just.
But that's fine. We've been talking about this for enough anyway, so let's move on to our next topic. All right, so on to more of a downer bit. Like there's a rather controversial scene where Larys Strong, who has clubfoot, if I'm remembering correctly, was seen pleasuring himself to Alicent's feet. And we didn't see all of that on screen, thank God, but it seems to be, it's heavily implied that he has a fetish for feet because of his own disability. Now, besides the obvious disgust that we all had from watching that, and if you didn't, we need to talk, there were people in the disabled community who were in uproar because of them being depicted in this way, like saying that it made them all seem as if they all have this desire to fetishize over a quote unquote perfect and better body. And like, what do we think about this response from that community, and how can we like have a discussion around that?
So I'm going to preface this statement by saying I am not disabled in any way. But if you talk to my wife, she might tell you I might be slightly mentally disabled. but no, in all seriousness, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just a show. And I understand how it's depicting an individual with a disability. Let's establish it is a depiction of an individual with a disability. That's one individual. There was no uproar when Tyrion Lannister was out there whoring around or doing all this other stuff, and dwarfs and little people didn't complain about that. So, and I'm pretty sure there probably were some folks who did complain, and they do complain. They do complain about how they are being fantasized about being short and elves and those type of things. So, I understand people's sentiments, but it's just a show. It's just a show. It's literally just a show. And if you can't watch the show, then don't watch the show. But it's just a show, and the show is going to offend some people. It's going to make some people feel uneasy. It's going to make some folks feel mad. It is a TV show. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Why are you making a noise about that just one thing when there's other things that are being depicted in shows and people are being exploited and taken advantage of, where you're silent on those type of things? It's literally just a show. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to sound harsh, but it's just a show. Stop your whining. Stop your crying. It's literally just a show. It's just a show. it's just a TV show. Like it. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I get how people may feel, how they're being depicted. Yes, but if you identify as that and you think that is a depiction of you, that ain't you. That's just a character who has a disability. That's it. And he likes feet. Okay. My cat loves hugs. I don't like giving hugs all the time, but my cat does. It's okay. Get along. It's fine. It's just a show. Oh my gosh, I don't understand the controversy because it's just a show. You just want to complain, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you caught me on the wrong day because I'm like, this is just. I have no love. It's just. I'm sorry. It's just a show. It's just a show. No.
I understand where you're coming from completely. Like at the end of the day, I'm where you are. But to play devil's advocate for a moment, it's very rarely do you get disabled people depicted in a series, especially one as popular as this. So to have the one very notable character in that regard do this and then have that on screen, I can see why people would be upset. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm with you 100%. It's just a show. There are things you could do better with your show there. Actually, one thing I remember, I think it's in one of the first book of the Game of Thrones series, A Song of Ice and Fire. There's a scene, if I'm remembering correctly, where Tyrion does a flip. And from what I understand, some little people talked to Martin and said, hey, like, that's not biologically as possible as you think it is. It's more difficult for us to do that. If I got any of that wrong, please correct us anywhere on Facebook or our Discord or what have you. But I had to look that up a while back. So Martin, I'm pretty sure in newer editions, I think that got changed where it doesn't happen. Obviously, it didn't happen in the show with Tyrion. So that's something that, hey, like, this isn't possible. This isn't something we can do. Let's talk about that. And it got changed for the better, in my opinion. But I'm also with you, like, guys, this is not you on screen. I understand like wanting to have someone in that community represent you well, but I watch plenty of movies where bad white men do bad white things, you know? And I don't, I don't start burning down buildings. I don't go out to, the Klan meeting. I don't get upset about that because I know they're not real. And if someone actually legitimately thinks all people are like that who are white, then let's have a talk. We need some therapy going on here because that's just objectively not true. But like, I'll give you an example. I just watched a movie called Unseen the other day.
Yeah.
And every single white person in that movie was alt-right MAGA all the way.
Okay.
And I laughed. I rolled my eyes at the ridiculousness of it all. And then I moved on with my life. I didn't go out on the internet and complain. It's okay. Like if people exist, they are sinful and they're gonna screw up. They're going to commit sins. It doesn't matter that they're white. It doesn't matter that they're black. It doesn't matter that they can't use their legs. They're still sinful human beings, and sinful human beings are going to do what sinful human beings do.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh. If you are complaining about how you feel you're being depicted on screen, then turn the screen off. You don't have to complain on Twitter. You don't have to complain on Facebook. You don't have to complain and send the email. You don't have to write a letter to the editor. You can just turn the screen off. Now, yes, you can make those complaints, but that's just you and your feelings. And if you got a couple of friends that agree with you, that's good. That's you and your friends. But the world does not revolve around you. It doesn't. There's a lot of people in this world. There's over 8 billion people, I think, the last time. In this, so you ain't the only one that got a club foot or a cliff palate or a cross-eyed or you ain't the only one. It ain't that serious. It ain't that serious. That's all I'm saying. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. It ain't. No, it's okay, people. It's okay. I think we just a little too sensitive, and
yes,
that it doesn't. I know your mama told you that the world revolves around you. You think it does, but That's just you and your mama. Okay, this is you and your mama. That's what your mama told you. But it's just a show. It's just a show. It's just a show. Like, people want to complain about the craziest stuff. Like, for real, that it's just a show. It's just a show. Like, if you don't like it, just turn it off. That's it. That's how you get a show taken off the screen. You tell people stop watching it. Guess what? And you be like, "Here, this is not good," and to get enough folks, they'll cancel it. They'll cancel it if people stop watching the show. But not this one though. No, this is too good. No, so this is just it's just a show. It's okay. It's okay. Y'all need a hug? I think people need hugs. I don't think people hugged a lot growing up. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
All right. So moving on from there, we're going to go. So where do you think, things go from here? I'm going to recuse myself from this question because I kind of know certain aspects of where things
I don't know
go.
anything. I don't know anything. I just watched the show. I didn't read the books. So I'm thinking that there's going to be an epic battle between Aegon and Rhaenyra. I remember some of the tales from Game of Thrones, how they were fighting with those dragons, and I'm just expecting like literally an epic battle with dragons. Like, I'm expecting special effects. I'm expecting like aerodynamic dives, and just like I'm thinking that this better be off the chain because it's dragons, and I want to see some dragon fights. I don't know like what's the plot line, the storyline, any of that stuff. I'm telling you, I'm just wanting to see some epic fights with some battles. I mean, dragons.
Yes.
So
I'm all for that because eventually we're gonna lose the dragons along the way because they're not around in Game of Thrones. Like, how does that happen? Like, do they get poisoned? Do they get killed by another dragon on screen? Is there a double kill at some point? Who knows? Like, let's see that. Let's keep going. I'm all ready for more of this. Are they shooting the second season right now, or are they already done? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, it's coming fairly soon. Let's just put it that way, because it's been about a year since it dropped.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and the way things are going with production times, it's going to take that much longer to make shows, especially with a huge budget like this. So that's where we're at. Do you have anything else you want to discuss before we head into the wrap-up part?
No, I have nothing. But I will say this. If you have not seen the show, watch the show. It's good to watch the show. This is a really good. A lot of folks I heard or read, they didn't like it. Because which I don't understand, because it's Game of Thrones. Like, if you like Game of Thrones, you should like House of Dragons. Like, but some folks was like, it seemed like it's a retelling of the old story. Yes, it is.
Yes.
It really is. It is a retelling of an old story. Like, yes, it's always going to be a power struggle for somebody who wants to take power over somebody else, and they're going to do whatever they can to get that power, to maintain that power, and to ensure that that power continues on with their own family. That is also in the Bible. Like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a different thing. And I was like, I don't understand. But
just look at David's life.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah,
his whole life.
You want to talk about subjective stuff? Yeah. You're right. But here's my thing. If you have not watched the show, go watch the show. If you watched it, watch it again. Because the new season is going to drop, and I'm excited about these prequels, and I'm hoping that all the other prequels that are in the works are released. If they're in the works, I hope they're released. Because I like this lore. The Game of Thrones world is a fascinating world. I like it.
Oh, yes. So how would you rate and review this first season of House of the Dragon?
10.
10, okay.
10.
Very positive.
Yeah, no. I don't. I mean, there's some things you need to work on, but no, it's 10 because of the dragons. That's it's 10 because of the dragons. I'm just being real. It's just 10 because of the dragons. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm just telling you now.
It's a simple reason to love it. I love it. That's perfect, Kino. I'll probably give it a 9.5 for right now. I have my own issues with the show as it's shown, as been depicted so far. That could easily go up as things go on from certain things that I know happen as the story progresses. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm at a 9.5 right now. So, Kino, as part of this HBO special we've been doing for the podcast, we've been asking, like, how do you like prefer to binge your shows? Like, what kind of food and drink do you use? What is your food or drink of choice when you watch shows like this?
Oh yeah, so normally, I like to this type of show. I'll do week to week. I like to come back and have something to look forward to. But this is what I will do though. In preparation for the newer season, I'll binge the old ones to watch them over again. But do I have a favorite drink or anything? No, I don't. No, not to watch these shows. No. I mean, I just eat popcorn. That's it. I'll eat popcorn.
All right.
Yeah, I do eat popcorn, watch these shows.
Yeah, I shared on another one. I've gotten worse over time, but I've become my father, and then I can't watch something way too long over a period of time like I used to be able to do. Like I could just sit and just keep going. Now it's not as long, but I can still do it. I just get a little fidgety, and I got to move, and I got to do something else. Once again, becoming Chip Ashley as time goes on.
Yes, indeed.
You look at pictures of us, we're the same person.
Yes,
he just has less hair.
So at one point you will too. Just know that he's gonna come around.
It's on the way. it's dying as we speak. But as far as food and drink is concerned, I'm more of a Pepsi guy. Just have that around. Like even eating sugary stuff, I know that kind of ruins the taste, but I'll just have some candy or have some Oreos around just to like something I can just grab, or some Doritos and just put in my mouth. Don't think, just consume and watch whatever I'm watching.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to learn more about Pepsi, by the way, you can join our Patreon and listen to the Drinks with Teachers episode that we did on Pepsi.
Yeah.
So before we move to our proper wrapping up segment, there is one thing I would like to say. The episode that Kino and I did on Game of Thrones, The Religions, I said something so stupid that in the moment, I wanted to smack me in the face. I said something like regarding Greek and Roman mythology, we have a lot of sources, but we only have a little sources, or something like that, in the same sentence, in the same breath. So this is my correction corner for me more than it is for all of you. So I apologize for wasting your time. It's like, I think my intent was to say we have a lot now from our own sources based on the few sources we have in Greek and Roman mythology. Like we only have like Ovid and pieces of Homer. So I'm an idiot. That's who I am. God loves me anyway.
Yes, he does.
We're going to move on from that and my shame to, guys, thank you for listening to this episode. I'm pretty sure this is the last episode we have for our HBO series, if I'm remembering the schedule correctly.
I think so.
Thank you for joining us on this adventure. It's been a lot of fun talking about some really great shows and some really great times we've had watching them. Please, if you get a moment, just check out our Discord or our Facebook page or our YouTube page. I mentioned Patreon earlier. If you want to go over there and help us keep the lights on, help us get the opportunity to save up some money so we can go to conventions and see you all in person, we'd love to be able to do that. We have plenty of stuff there for you to listen to, that we're not just taking your money away, I swear. As well, you can go to our website at systematicgeekology.org. You can see all the hosts there, everything we've done, what Kino and I have done, what other hosts have done. And as well, you can suggest future episode topics for us. So if there's something we talked about you really want more of, we can do that too. So remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
This was an Anazao Ministries podcast. If you enjoyed this show and would like to learn more about our network, be sure to check out the Anazao Ministries podcast network.